Hey butterflies, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So this is part 2 of the Wheel of Fortune, a mix of X of Swords and Excalibur. Make sure you check out part 1 if you haven't already. So this is about the Wheel of Fortune in the tarot deck and how it connects with both Egyptian and Christian mythologies. Everything I speak about on my channel is information that you can find yourself, but I do incorporate my own perception. Just a little disclaimer, okay? So tarot is a form of guidance and a way to connect with our intuition and the divine more than anything. The deck itself speaks through storytelling, symbolism, numbers, and colors. I personally use and recommend tarot for guidance, emphasis on that word guidance, and of course, strengthening our own intuition and connecting with the divine. So anyways, let's get into the Wheel of Fortune and really connect the dots. So first off, when we look at the image of the wheel, it reflects the natal chart or our birth chart within astrology, where there are 12 houses ruled by different signs and planets, and that's what reflects our own personal star map. So that's another way that the wheel and the celestial are connected. They're about alignment and divine timing, which are both referring to the planets. The wheel is basically a physical representation of divine timing of the celestial, and you'll see later how that's very strong within the ancient stories. That's why Apocalypse is always referencing the perfect moment to align his crystals and portals, right? And we also see this wheel reflected within the story of Excalibur with Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table, where King Arthur creates this table so that his courts were equally distributed in the kingdom so that there'd be no fight for power. And this is the formation of Otherworld as the wheel and the Citadel as the spoke from part 1. By the way, in part 1, I mentioned that Otherworld represents our mind and our willpower, and as the actual story goes, there's a sword that's retrieved from Otherworld through willpower, and that's exactly what Betsy does. She's probably going to be some prophecy, fulfill a prophecy, or highly connected to one just based off of her being the half-human, half-mutant. You know, she comes from the fallen angel storyline, but that's a topic for another time. So the wheel card in tarot itself represents continuous change. The wheel is always moving. That is our only constant. We're always experiencing the fluctuation of the ups and downs of life, and really the influence of our stars that are beyond our control and beyond our comprehension. But like I said, there's the factor of karma and our personal cycles. Lady Saturnine is reflecting a lot of this as the planet Saturn itself, which has been affecting us personally and globally. Because as much as it's about destruction, it's also about karmic cycles and generational traumas. Saturn is like the tough teacher that won't let you skate by in class because she knows that it'll only cause you to fail in the final test. Transforming and putting in that hard work, discipline, allowing destruction for creation of a new foundation, and working with time. These are all Saturnian qualities that are reflected through Lady Saturnine and the wheel itself. This is the energy that we're currently working with as a collective. And there's too much to say about Saturn and time itself, but it's a reminder of how we have the ability to transform our minds and heal any timeline because we're simultaneously healing the past generations as we are a form of their seed or a form of their consciousness that's carried on through us. So Saturn would like to offer that generational wealth that's been waiting for us already, but in order to receive it, we have to do the internal work and be disciplined. And all of that may come crashing down still if it's built on illusions and false lessons, and that's Saturn. And sometimes it's also about perspective and the bigger picture that's ahead of us that we just can't see yet. Just like in that Juggernaut analysis that I did, he held onto his armor for dear life because it had so much value to him. So it's overwhelming to give that up. It's natural for us to fight to keep what we love and value when it's being destroyed. But once he did it, he became the armor. We have to learn when to fight and when to let go. And usually we have to let go when it's becoming more detrimental to our health more than anything. So that's the best way I can simplify it for now. But there is a way to experience the lows without having to get our bones crushed every time. It's like imagine being on a Ferris wheel and the conductor is karma. When the wheel goes back down, it doesn't always have to be this rock bottom moment. It can just be simply your time to retreat and regroup. You may not have the best view right now. Matter of fact, all I can see is the damn ground, but you know that you're going to get back up, right? And if you know you have to face your karmic lessons and unhealthy cycles within self, then this is the time to do it. Now, let's say you have done wrong and you're suffering at the bottom of the wheel. A lot of people panic in this position, whether you've done wrong or not, because we just want to be back up again. And sometimes that means being back up on top. So it becomes a competitive thing, an ego thing, a power thing, a money thing. And to use what's happening in Nigeria as an example, the police themselves are in a very low position. So they kill whoever just to make $1 or $2, or just for a power trip that might make them feel like they're on top because they themselves aren't in a good position and they don't have the ability to feel good. And that's why people in that mind frame keep looping through a false sense of power. And this is easily reflected with all types of situations and relationships all around us, energy vampires and money-hungry power struggles. The point being, we get so wrapped up in how to persevere again that we may not stop to ask ourselves, how do I make sure I don't circle back here? There's always going to be certain people with bad intentions who just don't care, so they're just here to be the natural opposition of good this lifetime, and it is what it is. But for anyone who wants to be on the good side of karma, it's all about our truth and awareness, our intentions and our actions all unified. Awareness, intentions, and actions. The wheel is destiny, and just like karma, it's not against us, it's unbiased. If anything, it wants us to thrive. It's called the Wheel of Fortune, but we have to be willing to collaborate with it because we do have free will. And it's far beyond doing quote unquote wrong things, because we can block blessings just through our inability to receive, because maybe there's self-love issues or self-worth issues or generational issues, and it's not happening on a conscious level, which is why it's not easy work. And because the wheel is simultaneously a reflection of our birth chart, another way to work with the wheel is to understand your own birth chart, because that's your destiny or fate. What's written in the stars, whether you believe it or not, it's constantly changing and influencing us. Saturn is actually my ruling planet. Well, my actual sun sign planet is Jupiter, but in my chart, I'm most influenced by Saturn. And my life path number is 8, which is the corresponding number to Saturn and the number of death and rebirth. And this is why I'm so passionate about these topics, because my entire life had felt like destruction. So I'm very familiar with that bottom of the wheel moment, getting your bones crushed and not understanding why repeatedly, especially when you haven't done anything wrong to others and you continuously move with good intentions. It can be very, very confusing. And that hopelessness that encompasses us during those moments is what distracts us from our focus from the bigger picture, ultimately. And to be real, Saturn just doesn't give a fuck. She's like, well, if you lose hope that easily, then your foundation isn't strong enough, so build it up. So now let me talk about the symbolism in the card. Like I said, everything has a meaning. So the wheel is ruled by number 10, and before the wheel is the hermit, ruled by 9, who goes within to find the light in the darkness. And that's that reflection moment where you go back in to break the cycles. And 9 is the number of completion, but not everyone reaches that 9, that completion, because most people don't break their major cycles and loop back. So if we're talking numbers, they're stuck in their 8. That's the number of death and rebirth, like I said. The number itself is infinitely looping, like the infinity sign, of course. And in that way, it's reflecting Saturn's influence of time. So when we're in that 8 phase, it's all about change. And when it's upright, it reminds me of the hourglass and the pressure that time has on us. I call it the hourglass illusion, and disclaimer, time is important because we still got to get shit done, okay? But in context here, we have a hard time flowing with the changes because of the amount of time we put into something, or because there's no time to start something new, not enough time to accomplish your goals. Time can somehow make us feel restricted when we're asked to flow with changes. And the physical representation of getting through the 8 is turning it from an hourglass to the infinity. And this is an internal shift. It's breaking the cycles and becoming aware. It's the consciousness within the loop that allows us to direct our energy and intentions. This means accepting the past so we're not living there through memories or subconsciously attracting similar situations to heal those wounds through the present moment. It means planning for the future, but not to the point of just living for the next best moment. So it means being present. That's why there's a Sphinx. He represents the eternal present in Egyptian mythology. So because a lot of people get stuck in the loop, in the 8, they don't get to the 9. They may experience a version of the hermit, but it's not the completion of self-realization. So when the Wheel of Fortune comes around, number 10, which is also X of Swords, 10 of Swords. Okay, I have to sidetrack here. So 10 of Swords in tarot represents betrayal and defeat. It's unavoidable disaster when we least expect it. Things that are out of our control and leave us feeling like we're a victim of our circumstance. Clearly, there's going to be battle and destruction. Everyone is retrieving their own sword for the ultimate battle. But the swords in tarot are also the air element. It represents logic, ideas, and intellect. And we see how Cypher is not a fighter, right? He's like, I'm not meant to be here. I'm not a warrior like that. I'm here to translate for Krakoa. But this battle is so much more than physical strength. And as a 10, it still represents completion and renewal. There's this repetitive message of destruction for new creation. And again, that's that Saturnian influence. 10 is the combination of 1 and 0, obviously. And I cannot get into that breakdown because I'll be here forever. But 1 is like the infinite possibility of creations and a new beginning. And 0 is like the womb and the darkness also associated to creation. So that's why it's called X of Swords, creation. So with an end comes a new beginning, and that's 10. I know 8 and 10 sounds very similar because they both deal with changes and cycles, But as 8 represents death and rebirth, I view it as the phoenix, the rising of the spiritual body from the ashes. And in tarot, it's the number of strength. It's our ability to face our demons and birth ourselves anew through breaking these patterns, learning these lessons, and living in the present moment instead of our past or future. It's the evolution of our consciousness over and over again. It's our individual cycles that call on our strength. These are the cycles that we have control over. When we get to the wheel, this is not in our control. These cycles that flow in the Wheel of Fortune is divine timing. It's the celestial influences. And what I'm seeing is partially the result of how we chose to handle our individual cycle at 8. So the wheel is turning, the energy will shift, and it's according to universal laws and karma. And following the Wheel of Fortune is the Justice card. So these are all overall meanings. In a tarot reading, the influencing cards and intuition is just as important to decipher the actual meaning and guidance. So in Egyptian mythology, there's 3 gods at the birth chamber, always working together, representing the individual's fate. This is Meskenet, Shay, and Renenet. So Meskenet has the brick of our time of birth and death. She represents the individual's astrological influences and where the seat of our destiny is said to be. So again, celestials and our birth chart relating to destiny or fate. So then Shay transforms the brick into a wheel, which of course represents the birth chart again. And this is a wheel of life, which is the circle of birth, death, and growth, where the 8 spokes return us to the 8 primordials existing in darkness before creation, before the seed of life was planted in our solar system to manifest the human race. You see how it always comes back to creation? So these primordial energies are the feminine and masculine elements of water, fire, air, and earth. And these primordial energies being tied to the wheel and the spokes in this way makes it so much more powerful, but it's a completely overlooked aspect of the Wheel of Fortune. So Shay is actively and consciously working with the results of his actions from his past. Having penetrated the mystery of transmutation, he uses his knowledge to transform human consciousness. It's sounding a lot like karma, change, and evolution of the wheel as it interacts with both the celestial influences and our actions. And that's why I say we can collaborate with the wheel. So lastly, we have Renenet, who is nourishment for our subtle bodies, and this provides the life for our physical existence. And she's associated with the snake. And in the Wheel of Fortune, we see the snake, which can mean betrayal to some, but it can also mean nourishment, abundance, and fertility. So this Wheel of Destiny contains all the elements of the universe, as does the Wheel of Fortune. So now I'll get into the symbols in the fortune card, which will then tie into the Christian myths. So we have a human angel with a book, who is the king of creation, representing Aquarius and air. Then the eagle with the book, the king of birds, representing Scorpio and water. Then the cow or bull with the book, the king of domesticated animals, representing Taurus and earth. And lastly, the lion with the book, the king of wild beasts, representing Leo and fire. So in the Bible, these animals are all connected to the 4 evangelists who are interpreting the gospel. So it was Matthew, who was the man of reason, Mark as the lion of courage, Luke as the ox or bull of service, sacrifice, and strength, and John as the eagle who seeks higher knowledge. All these aspects reflected the true essence of Christ, and these 4 symbols connect again in the prophecies. And prophets are always demonized, as are intuitives, until it comes to fruition or becomes the mainstream. And that's really the root of demonizing self-exploration, because it leads to free thinking and independent power that doesn't rely on acceptance and approval of outside source when it comes to faith in God. That's already a given. The love and acceptance is there always. It's our personal struggle to simply claim it. And you'll notice Apocalypse always referencing the power number of 4. And this number highly resonates with me. It is my birthday number, so I know all about it. So leave a comment down below if you'd like to know the numerology and the power number of 4. So back to the story, Ezekiel dedicated his life to speaking on the prophecies that he had on the destruction of Jerusalem. He says it comes from the north, which I'm pretty sure the messenger that came to Saturn was from the North Tower that was being destroyed, just like Game of Thrones. So he basically says 4 creatures came with the likeness of a man. Everyone had 4 faces and 4 wings. A face of a man, an eagle, an ox, and a lion. And I'm really summing this all up because these stories are well known, so you can Google the verse or look it up and you'll find it. But I just wanted to give you guys a few examples of just how impactful and relevant this wheel is, and how everything is interlaced and connected. It's not just about a wheel, but the universe, destiny, karma, elements, primordial energy, healing, cycles, time, and prophecies. So the last thing I'd like to say is I actually have a meditation from a spiritual book that's about tuning in with past life abilities or parts of you that are just dormant. And as the Egyptian reference had said, to return us to the primal creative source. So I highly recommend this for creatives, but you can customize it to what you'd like to be more conscious of and be more in tune with. So it's a visualization of sitting in the center of the wheel and absorbing the energy light coming from each spoke, which builds that connection with primal energy. And especially after knowing all this magical information I'm providing you about what the wheel really is and what it represents, and all the mythologies and symbolisms that are tied to it, a meditation is so much more powerful when you're connected to what you're visualizing. So take what resonates with you, because it's all about the feeling, because that's what reflects our vibration. So if you're listening to all this like, damn, I don't know what my karmic lessons are, then your intention can be to be made aware of what it is, or a solution on how to confront them and heal them. Or it can be very light and fun and all about creativity. It's all up to you. So I made an entire video on the benefit of making your own guided meditations, and I linked the one that I personally wrote out for shadow work and healing meditation in that video. I did post the actual meditation in the past, but I didn't like it, so I ended up taking it down. And you don't need to make this into a meditation. You can simply read it and visualize as instructed, but I always make them into meditations because my mind always trails off. If requested, leave a comment and I'll consider posting the meditation for the shadow work healing one or this primordial wheel meditation. Maybe both, maybe neither, who knows. So this may be one of my longer videos, but I was so excited to put this together for you guys without making it too long, but still informational. And I really hope you guys take my suggestion on this meditation. Remember to keep the faith, and if it's been shattered, then build a better one based off of yourself. That's what Saturn is urging us to do. Create the light and darkness, whether that's through physical creation or a different level of consciousness. But most importantly, deal with any cycles and patterns that get buried through the past and bring that to light. All right. Thank you, butterflies, so much for spending your time with me today. Stay flying free, and I'll see you next time. Bye.